Hey everybody, thanks for stopping in the garage, and we are looking at part 2 of that commercial Lawnboy, sort of a refurbished restoration. And today we're going to be going deep into the motor. We're going to do an impromptu in situ valve job on it. Generally don't do those here because I'm not really equipped for it, but we're going to have to go deep in that motor. So stay tuned, and we're going to take the motor apart. We're going to deal with the valves, figure out what's going on with that, and get this motor to run a little bit better. And in part 3, we'll clean it all up and finish it the rest of the way. But today we're going deep. We're going to stay with the motor, and we'll pull the head, go in there, and get things cleaned up and get the rest of the machine sort of cleaned up. So let's check it out. Let's take the guards off, and while I'm here, I'll just put a little bit of juice on everything in case I decide I want to take more stuff off. But most likely we're going to need to take the motor off, right? It's dead. Can't say we didn't try, right? I'm going to liquor up all these bolts that I can get to, especially over here. I wanted to show you guys what to look out for. So we put this one on. They see the crack forming, right? That's what you'll find. Now this one's not that bad, but it'll get worse as it gets hot. And it'll open up. Now that's not what's causing the poor running issue, but that is something to look out for. So that's no good. If the motor's no good, we'll just leave that on the motor. Actually, we'll try and take it off. We'll take it off, and we'll try to get another gasket. The gaskets tend not to come off, so it's nice to collect them whenever I can get them. They are kind of fragile. I put my tranny fluid on them, and I let them soak, and so they get a little bit more supple. You can also use 2-stroke, and just let them sit like that. All right, we'll go with a wrench first, socket. It's warm, but it's not hot. And we'll loosen them up just in case. And then we'll buzz them off the rest of the way. Yeah, that one's a little sticky. Because the impact can shear them and break them. So you don't want to do that. Now it's good enough. And you can feel it. If it doesn't want to go, you know you're in trouble. We'll find out what's going on in here. It's going to break the gasket, so a little bit of steam come out. See all the carbon? That's all that, that feels like dirt. Yeah, that feels more like dirt ingestion. All right, let's prop this thing up. Like, I gotta stick my head in here first, guys. You gotta wait. God. Everybody's like, let me see. Ooh, let me see. Let me see. I don't feel anything. Let me get a tissue. Get some lighting on that. That's nasty. Valves are moving fine. Could be recession too, valve recession. Right, that right there looks like it might be. Let's get Mr. Gasket off. Look at all the mung. Look at that. That's just a quick wipe. Ah, see all that? So if she can be salvaged. Wow. I'll tell you, that is nasty. It's really carbon. It's a nice finish in there. Let me get a flashlight in there. It's so filthy. It feels like sand, but it could just be tons of carbon. Man, nothing wrong with that. That is in beautiful shape, guys. It is beautiful. It's a little glazed. It's a lot glazed. Let me get you in. Let me get you the camera. Might use the other camera too. I'll start off with this camera. Well, you get the other camera as well. Look at that. I mean, it's just beautiful. Let me get the other camera. Nothing wrong with that. Okay, so here's my plan, right? We're gonna take the muffler off. We'll do this just the same way I did it on the Husker varnish machine. I'm gonna take the muffler off. This way we can acid etch it, clean it, and paint it a little bit. Or put another one on, which I probably have. And we can also spray some degreaser in through that port. We're gonna take all this off again, right? And pull it out of the way because we wanna replace that, and then we can put, because it's sticking up on the intake because it's reverting, so it's leaking in here. So we want to get all that off so we can clean through that way. We'll dump the oil that's in there and put a little more gas in it as we're working on it, and then we're going to start decarbonizing it with the wire wheel, and then we'll keep working that angle and see with a little bit more gas in it, sloshing around, dissolving things. We'll put a little hone in there. We'll just scratch this surface up with a little bit of hone and a little bit of sandpaper so that it forces the rings to seat a little bit better. Let's just keep working it. And then we'll decarbonize this, and we'll lay this down on that poor man's mill, right? And we'll mill this up and get this right. We'll pop another gasket on it, put everything back, and see what it does. We'll put some little bit better oil in it then. Oh, so let me get started on that.
Minutes later.
When I pulled off the cover, we're going to watch that go in a little bit, but it's not too bad in there. There's some silt, there's some debris down in here. So we'll flush that out as well, right? And a little bit is stuck. This is the positive crankcase vent, PCV. We'll give that a good cleaning. We'll just put a little, we'll let that just pee out. We'll wipe it with a rag in a little bit. Okay, so I've got this cleaned up. So we know the piston is nice and clean, right? We know the bore looks pretty good, but what I've noticed is, I don't know if you can see it with my thumb in the way, but there's a lot of valve movement here. Hear it? And that should be closed. In fact, when we get the exhaust valve open, hear it? So that's a problem. Now this one doesn't move very much, but when we open up the intake, now you can hear it. And look at all the movement. She's sloppy as hell. So something's wrong. I think you got a couple of things going on here. The lack of lubricant caused the valve guide to wear, and then for some reason or other this valve isn't even closing well on the seat, and it could be reversion. It could also be it's lost its clearance. So we might want to check it against a different valve. So I don't know if I have a compressor for that, for this small of a size, but I've got, let's take it out. And I've got another valve. I got a motor outside that I was stealing some parts from, whatever. We might want to pull the intake valve out and pull this intake valve out and see. Maybe we can just stick a different valve in, and it may need to grind the, now I don't have a good grinding tool, but we can try to grind it. It may have, it's called reversion, and so it's coming down and down and down as it's banging, and now there's no more clearance here. So she's not fully seated. So she really needs a valve job, is what it really needs. But we might be able to find a way to kind of finagle that. I'm not set up for that. Let's try that. Let's get this valve out. All right, let's bring this thing around. So piston's up at the top. There goes an exhaust, so it just fired. It's going to be intake, right? We got our intake going. I'm going to call it out to you. So we're going to fire. So coming up to TDC. And then we're going to just advance it a little bit. And Briggs says about 1/4 inch, which should be about there. Now, it should be about 5 to 7 thousandths on an intake. And I got 3 thousandths, and I can't get that in there. Okay, I know you can't see it. I'll show you in a little bit. But there's the tappet, okay, that rides on the cam. It's the lifter. And then there's the valve, right? And they, right here is where they contact. And what's happened is the valve is recessed in. It's moved in, and now there's no more clearance. Okay, I got this old automotive American-made tool, which I have a slightly different, put a different thing on the end of it, like the fingers. They're moving on me. They're not really made for this tool, but they fit the valve. And I'll show you in there. We'll take a peek in there. I got to modify the tool a little bit more. I just need the screw. Yeah, she's almost ready to go. I just got to modify this tool. I got to put maybe like drill and just put some threads in there just to keep these fingers, because they're doing this, right, as I screw it. But there's not a lot of tension on any of this, so we're actually almost there. It's just that this is moving. And all you got to do is just get the spring compressed enough to pull the retainer out, right? And now that retainer is just hanging on the valve stem, the lifter, it's just hanging there. And then we'll release this. Okay. See, I gotta do something for that. Just gonna put like another bolt there. One will do it. And then the valve comes right out. So we'll leave the spring in there because we don't need to do anything with that. So I'm gonna go modify that tool. Here's our valve, and really it's in good shape. We just need to grind that end just a little bit. Now, I would like to make a fixture for that. I can do it on the grinder very carefully. We just need a few thousandths. It doesn't have to be perfect, guys. This is a nice shape. Look at that. It's not even like all gummed up in here. It's just that little bit of, cleaning solution they put on there. It's not too bad. So let's set up for that. Let me show you what I have. Now you could do this a couple of ways. You could do it on a grinder. We can also do this on the belt sander, but we're just going to take a little off. It's fairly flat. I need to get a diamond burr. I'm just turning it. Ever so slightly. Yeah, she's coming good. All right, that's enough. Now let's go test it. And what we'll do is we'll polish that on a bit of crocus cloth or something so that it's smooth and it won't wear the lifter head. So you can see, right, I'm actually a bit past top dead center because I've got a valve open, my exhaust valve. So I feel like it's seated. It's not moving, but there's no clearance. So we gotta grind it a little bit more until we get about 4 or 5 thousandths, up to 7 thousandths. So I'm going to just take a little bit more off. We'll check the exhaust too in a little bit. Let me work that, right? We're just going a little bit at a time. See, we want a little bit of clearance up in there, just a little bit. That's obviously too much. That's like my fingernail. But, it's a little bit wobbly, but it's not closing, and that's why we're having reversion. I have other valves if I need. It's seated well. I feel it. It's not moving. This is 4 thousandths, and we're good. So let's try 5. We're up to 7. Let's try 5 thousandths is actually the measurement they want. Yeah, she's good. Yeah, that feels nice. It's got a nice little tug on it. All right, it's polished. I just put a nice piece of sandpaper, something smoother than what that stone is down on the table, and just back and forth a little bit to smooth it out, make sure there's no issues. Okay, so I had a little bit of Older compound, and so what I did was I added a little bit of water and then a little bit of toothpaste, and just mixed it up. That way we can really butter this up. And we get some on the seat as well, just a little bit. There we go. And that'll help hold everything. I gotta get into a good position. That's starting to come off. Yeah, I gotta get where you are. So I'm gonna go do that. Normally I'd be in a different position. I'm gonna just work it for a little bit. Put a little bit of pressure on. Yeah, I'm not in a good position. I need to move the whole thing, but I want to set it up so that I can show you. So I don't want to tear it down, tear the setup down, and then set it back up again. Right, usually I put in a drill. Yeah, that sounds good. It sounds like it's worked it in. You can tell it gets finer and finer. That's nice. All right, let's see what it looks like. We're looking for a continuous band, not like a rock band, not like a continuous heavy metal band playing. Oh, that looks good. All right, we'll clean that off some more. Yeah, that looks good. That's nice, even, gray all the way around. And same thing here. Oh, that looks really good. Yeah, she just needed a bit of a valve job. I'm gonna have to, what happened to that little piece of gasket I had? What did I do, lose it? I lost a little piece of gasket there. I thought here it is. Let me put it to the side because we'll RTV it after we're done cleaning. I'll probably break another one. If I need to, I'll steal one from another machine, but we should be able to just put a little RTV on that. That looks perfect, guys. That looks excellent. But that's more important because it's the valve was not shutting, so all those combustion gases were leaking past, coming up this tube, right, the manifold tube or intake tube, and then out the carburetor, and you'll never get a good proper signal to the carburetor because carburetors, you don't blow into them, you don't blow backwards, you suck, and so there's no suction. So every other signal, it got a signal, and then it would have a reversion, and then it would get a signal, put some charge in, and then would have a reversion. So let's take a look at the exhaust now. Let me set up for that. So that thing there, right, that's the tappet. Right, that's actually the lifter. Rides on the cam, then pushes on the valve. See how nice and clean that came? Shove this in as far as you can. Hold the valve. There you go. So we don't move the retainer. There we go. All right, we got that. All right. Getting there. Yeah, that might work. Now, if we could just pick up that retainer. This is going to break. That's an old tie wrap. Yeah, we're real close. We should just be able to pick it up and just flop it on. Boy, if gravity was working with me, yeah, it's almost there. Yep, that's it. Oh, almost. A magnet would do it. Yep, a magnet. Oh, it's hanging on there, see? Let me get you the other, you should be able to see it. Let me get the other camera. It's just got to hang it. See it hanging on there? No, a magnet would help. And just make sure it's in. And let's just release the tension slowly. Yeah, I think it's grabbing it. Stay where you are. Hey, I know I have a little magnet on a rod or something somewhere. That's it, we got it. Okay. Sometimes you just make do. Now, you can use something else. I was thinking something like this, and that'll get it off. And if you leave the spring and everything in alignment and don't disrupt the alignment, you can use a tool like this. Otherwise, right, you're going to have to find another way. So I think we're good, right? The valve is nice and solid. It's not spinning at all. It feels really good. Yeah, that feels nice. Now let's check the clearance on the exhaust. All right, I just got to modify my tool a little bit. Exhaust is about 9,000, so let's just start off with 5. Oh God, 5 won't even go in. Yeah. All right, so we want about 7. All right, we got to do it again. All right, let me mod my tool so that the tool is set up right, and see if I have something a little more slender than this. Something a little smaller, and then we'll do the same thing to the exhaust. We might as well. We'll do a valve job on this thing. It's like an impromptu valve job, and that way I can kind of have a few modded tools to get me through it. Why buy when I have stuff here? You know, eventually I'll buy. Now, really, you need the retainer out of your way because you need to be able to stick a feeler gauge in there. And like I said, let's just check it again. So we want 5,000s. 3,000s barely fit in there. 5 is definitely not fitting. So let's stick this in there and see if we can just pop it out. Yeah, not really, because gravity is fighting us. I think we got it. All right, just leave it like that. Now the problem is we need to stick. Now you can get the valve out. But again, the problem is we need to stick a feeler gauge in there, so we need to have that thing out of our way. Looks pretty good. All right, let me, yeah, it's not too bad. It's a little carbonized, but it's not bad. Sorry, but we got to pull you out of here. Yeah, this gasket's kind of beat. Let's see if we can take a gasket from one of the others. Let me pull that off. Now I'm going to go remove a little bit, come back, stick it in, and test it. All right, we got 5,000s. Yeah, 5,000s feels good. And let's go to 7,000s. Let's put some pressure on it. Yeah, that feels good. Let's leave it. Okay, we're good. Now, we're gonna lap it. I'm gonna lap it the same way I did last time. I'm gonna butter it up. We'll check it. I don't know if you can see it, but you can see it needs a little more work there. We do have a bit of a continuous bead, but I see a little bit right there. You may not see it, but I just want to mention that it needs a little bit more work. So we're going to do it more. I cleaned up the valve on the wire wheel and ran the compound over it, and it looked good. So this is fine. Let me just work that seat a little bit more. All right, I'm almost done. Lift it every now and then so that new material goes in. You can hear it. It gets finer. Sound changes. Shut up, Art, so we can hear it. Listen. Just put a little pressure on. It's coming nice. Okay, let's take a peek. Well, I know the valve looks great, so yeah, she looks real good. You know, when it gets cleaned up better, you'll see it. Yeah, that valve is good, but what does this look like? I'll get you in when I'm happy. Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, that did it, this round. Let me clean it good and I'll show you. That's beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, that's excellent. All right, let's get it back together. I'll put a little more light on for you. See? The whole thing is like that. So that's great. All right, we got it. We nailed that. We'll just pop it on. Try to sneak it in there again. And we'll just lift it up over, because the springs are so light, so it's not really a big deal. Just pop it on like that. Looks good. And then throw the valve in. We'll put some oil on it when we're done before we close it up. But it'll just make it too difficult to assemble. It's moving nice. Everything's moving nice. So we just need to get that lined up. So I just got to pass the stem in, and so it's going through that part of the lock. That's the bigger hole. Remember, it's like a key slot. And that way I'm seated on the lifter. The back of the stem, the bottom of the stem is hitting the lifter, and that lock is in there. It has to pass through that bigger hole. Otherwise, you'll never get it. And we can just shove you in. Press it. Okay. The lock is pretty much where it needs to be. We're close. It's just a little bit off, right? I'm missing a little bit of the spring, but we might be able to finagle it because there's not much to this spring. Just feel it. Yeah, it feels like it did. Let's start releasing the pressure on it. It's pretty simple to do. See? Let's check it. Yeah, I want to modify that tool, make it a little bit more slender, and then just push on these springs and make sure that they feel like they're sitting on the keeper properly. They'll probably pop in on their own, but you see how you can easily kind of offset the spring on the keeper if you're not careful. They will kind of seat themselves. Okay. Now let's feel it. Feels like it's a little bit. Let's check it. Let's make sure. Oh yeah, that's nice. It's not spinning. Remember, it was spinning before. You put your finger on it, your thumb on it, and the valve will spin. It means it's not closing. All right, we'll go to 7/1000. Yeah. Oh, that feels nice. Oh, that's a nice tight. Tweet. It's tweet. It's a tweet. All right, we're golden here. I'm going to go steal a gasket, and we want to dump the oil that's in here, guys, and we also got to hone. So we got a little bit of honing to do, and then we'll dump the oil, and we'll put some different oil in. I got something a little bit cleaner. Now I want to put a little more gas in, too. All right, I got a little brake hone, which that should work good. We're all the way in. There's already a bit of lube in there. So we should be able to just kind of slide this guy in, and we're just gonna put a little bit of a crosshatch. She's in beautiful shape, so go slow. This is much better than the other one I was using the other day. Oh boy, is it better. So first we'll just, get it going. Yeah, she's in good shape. Now we'll go slow and move it a lot, and that'll put a nice crosshatch in there. We don't need to do anything other than break the glaze. And that'll stuff the rings enough to allow them to seal a little better. All right, let's see what that does. That's probably enough. We'll wash everything out a little bit. We're gonna bring it outside and give it a good bath. All right, so there's just a little bit of bell mouthing in here. Just a little bit of a lip here, so it's a little worn, but it's not bad. Just a chick of a ridge. This thing's beautiful. Wow. It is not bad at all. Yeah, we don't really need to do much more. See what it's picking up? But we'll get the rest of it out in a little bit. I want to get outside and get it washed. Yeah, it's just got a little bit of a ridge here, but don't worry about that. I'll show you. I'll get you in close. All right, just break that glaze out of the way. Glaze is like a weird phenomenon. It's not really a polish. It is, but it isn't. And I wanted a little bit of a crosshatch in there that'll help hold the oil back on the surface. Let me get you in, I'll show you. We don't need to do anything else. It's perfect. That's more than good enough. See the little bit of dark area here? Right? That's fine. Right? We don't care about that. There's just a little tiny little bit of it. You could even take that out, but we're not going to. Right? The rings don't go up that high. She's beautiful. Just give it a scrape, and then, yeah, she's coming clean. That's nasty. This one's got a little bit of a lip, like a recess here. So it's a little different design. All right, we'll put it on the clean line now. Super Clean time. Thanks, Super Clean, for helping out. And Jessica over there at Super Clean. We are going to just put a little bit of foamy on a few spots because it's not that dirty. We've already cleaned it a few times. So we're going to start off with just a regular Super Clean to wet everything down. And I like to just wet everything. And we'll let it sit up, set for a little bit. We'll come back with our brushes. And over here, we'll maybe put a little bit of the foamy. Foamy comes in the aerosol. And also this bottle size. I'll just show you that. And we don't need to get any on the front. So I'm just going to go around real quick. And like I said, it's already been done. But a lot of that soot is on it. And I figured at the end of the day, we're going to get ready to do, a nice, build up on it. And why not just get all the soot and silt off right now? See how it does a nice job. And then this, right, look, it shoots out pretty good. Isn't that pretty cool? I just need some over here. Just a couple of spots. And we'll put a little bit on this guy and let it sit for a little. We'll come back in a minute, and I want to hit the other side again. And we'll just leave it sit, and then we'll get the big brush and we'll wipe it down. See you guys in a few minutes. I don't care if it gets all over everything. We're going to dump the oil again. But yeah, it's loosening up all of that. There was this staining back here. Yeah, it's loosening it all. Oh yeah, this staining is disappearing. Yeah, we'll just give it a few minutes. There, woodpecker. Oh, that's good enough. Let's let it dry out here for a little bit. Nice and clean. Now, one last thing. The gaskets were all breaking, so I took pieces of the broken gaskets, laid down a nice layer, a nice decent layer, not too thick, just wipe it. And kind of fabricate a gasket, right? So let's put this on. And because it's going to need to set up overnight. That way, if it sets up overnight, I'm not going to have any issues with it. And I blew everything off. I just want to I put a little lubricant on those valves. Yeah, that's good. And I shouldn't have to go back in here ever. What I'm going to do, I'm not going to over tighten it. I'm just going to do that. And then tomorrow, you guys got to remind me. We just got to give it a quick one. So I'm just going to spray a little bit of lube on the front, wipe that out with a tissue, and then the rest is for tomorrow. Okay. Next day, we'll let that oil drain out while I straighten up and take care of a few other things. And then we're going to put used oil in it again, but I got a little bit better used oil because this stuff is really nasty. This had a little bit of the gas in it. It came out, it was nice and thin. It's been sitting overnight, so it's had a chance to dissolve. So it is, you know, pretty nasty. Yeah, let's let that drip a little bit. Let me go find my better quality used oil. And then, see, it's picking up some of that silt in the bottom. And then we'll actually run it with some of that better used oil, and then I'll change it to fresh if everything works out. Came pretty clean. The super clean gets everything very clean, but it is a base, so it will get rid of some of the oxidation on aluminum, but it'll actually cause some of it. Let's take, this is 80 grit, that's 240. So just gently. Nice piece of thick steel, pretty flat. You can use a number of things. Like you can put this on your table saw. If I got a nice cast iron tabletop, glass. There's a lot of things you can use. Just gonna keep moving it. We'll come back in a little bit and then we'll check the progress. Once I get, you know, a continuous sort of nice sanded bead across the whole surface. Doesn't have to be the whole surface, but like a continuous bead. See, it's actually come. This one is not particularly warped. Look at that. That was just a brief moment. All right, I'm going to work on this. Once I kind of get it all the way around, for the most part, I'll show you, and then we'll put it on the 240 and finish the cleanup, and we'll mount it. It's nice. Like I said, it doesn't look right over here. Mostly this is the exhaust, yeah. Right over here a little bit, but that's to be expected. That's excellent. Okay, I just worked a little bit longer, not much. Just a little bit over here, closer to the fire ring. We really want to make sure the fire ring is covered well. So a little bit more to get this area out. I know it might be hard to see because shiny things, you know, cameras. That's good. You know, the gasket will take up the rest. I just went a little bit longer. Barely had enough time to shut the camera off. This thing's in really nice shape. Let's just polish it out on the 220. I don't remember whether this is 220 or 240. These are getting a little worn. Might be time to change them out, but they're still working. Let's see. This is going to come nice, guys. It's going to improve performance. We're going to make this a hot rod. Yeah, that's looking good. All right, let me just work a little bit longer, and then I'll show you. Just a little bit longer. Oh, that's beautiful. All right, I'm going to stop. Yes, that's okay. A little bit of it's kind of like a pitting. I like to call it more modeling in this case. Look at how nice that came. All right, let me clean this off. Just wipe it off and blow it. Look, it's got little mud daubers in there. I'll get those out. All right, I cleaned up the bolts. Generally just a good cleaning and a wire wheel, particularly on starting course. Good thick weight oil arms, generally all you need. If you want, you could put like a good grease or a heavier oil on it. I want to go in here though, just run the 5/16 tap in. A couple of spots I see are a little nasty. We want to make sure that we're going to get the bolts to pass in there without any, as little resistance as possible, because that's going to affect the torque. Right? Any junk on the threads or up in the shanks, you get so much junk built up. A lot of these engines, it gets built up in here, all along here. Yours may be like that. That's why I always say don't torque them. You can't torque a head that's been on there rotting for years. It doesn't work. There's too many things that'll affect the torque reading, and you won't get an accurate reading. So you're not torquing it, right? It'll click off, and it could wind up clicking off well below the intended torque. So what's the point? Why bother? When I used to work on more highly engineered engines, the manufacturers, sometimes you replace the bolts and such, and those manufacturers would tell you either to use oil or what kind of oil, or they would say if you're using a particular fastener lubricant, which I still have some here, the torque rating would change because the oil or grease or type of oil changes the friction, which changes your torque reading. So trying to torque a rotting bolt in a rotting old motor, right? That's silly. You want to torque it, do this. Make sure everything is good and everything is clean. This seems fine. Another thing you can do too, just a couple that I noticed, is just run the bolt in by hand and feel it. If it feels okay, see it picked up a little bit of junk. You're going to get that. There's a couple of areas here. I did this one already, I think. Check that one. And I'll just kind of check it as I go. But once I start putting everything on, right, I can't come back and do this. I really don't want to do that. You can, but... All right, got everything all cleaned up nice. I blew it out. It's all ready to go. I cleaned up in here as much as I could. I got a nice used gasket. I like to spray, I have like a 2,000 degree aluminized paint. You can also use the copper gasket stuff. Just get it on there. It fills all the pores and everything. It's like it is a paint. You know, once the vehicle burns off, right, it deposits something that is a material similar to what is on these steel shim gaskets, you know, when they're new. So you can use it with a new gasket or an old gasket. I don't like to spray it on here, but more on the head. So everything's ready to go. Just gonna line it up. And we're gonna hand tighten it first. And I think maybe we will check before we torque. We'll just hand tighten it and we'll do a quick compression test. This feels good. So, you know, start them by hand, guys, so that you can feel that they should go in nice. And this guy completely oiled the bolt. Or all the bolts. If you want, you can put a nice grease on it. It'll protect them from the oxidation that'll build up in here. I get this cool tool. Right, my brother. Hey, Dave. I did that in the last one. I used it. It's neat because I can feel it. You don't want to zip them in with a zip gun. You want to feel it. And I can get real close to the torque that I need to get to just by doing this. Because I can really feel it. Because I can, you know, there's nothing in the way. I can feel what it feels like. I'm feeling it. You guys feeling it? They're real dicey when they were coming out, and that's common because of the junk that gets on them. Especially the ones that go in, like up here, there's a couple of spots where the bolts come out to the other side of the, you know, the bore, the boss, right, where the thread boss is. And so on the other side, right, the bolt is exposed. The tip of the bolt is exposed. That gets full of junk, it oxidizes, it rusts. And then when you go to pull it back through, it can destroy all the threads, start locking up, because it's only an aluminum, and start to lock up, and then the bolt will break. Get this one. So I just did a quick cross pattern and then just go around to make sure they feel like they're okay. Yeah, that one, I kind of missed that one a little bit. That's good. They feel about the same. All right, I'll be right back. I'm gonna go grab something real quick and then we'll do a quick test. Yay! All right, hopefully you can see that it looks like I'm out of the glare. Let me find a place to stand. Because you guys are in my way. Why don't you guys do this? Yeah, hold this. Hold this. All right, wait, hold on. Then I can't see it. And I can't look because the fittings and the gauge are shot. I can't find any more. Any of you guys know where you can get these low pressure crack Schrader valves, right? I thought you could use the ones in the tires, but no. No. I found some threads out there, but no part numbers. Oh, shush. Hold on. Oh, yeah. Wow. That's excellent. Almost 100. But I'd say 80, 90, right? That's good. All right, let's torque this thing up. And then we're going to go put the rest of it together. All right, what are it? 10 inch-pounds. So I'd say about 220 inch-pounds. What am I up to? I just did this on the last motor. Yeah, about 205. I'm up a little over. Yeah, about 205-ish, somewhere around there. Let's just see, because I'm probably real close. There it is. Yep, like I said, I'm real close. You can go in stages, but we got pretty tight. We'll leave it at the 205. Well, that one feels like it needs to go in stages. There it goes. That's a lot. Is it this one? I'm sure I'm missing one. Just, stagger them. Do like a cross pattern. It doesn't really matter. They tell you, if you look it up, they'll tell you which one to start at. So let's just go around. But that should do it. Remember, it's a little older, so I don't like to necessarily go up to the absolute peaks because bolts stretch, threads get damaged. I worry that, like the new Chevy hardware for a lot of the new Chevy engines, they don't go by torque, they go by bolt stretch, which you have to have a special gauge to measure the amount of stretch, and they're one use only. So like the gaskets, one use only for the bolts. You got to throw them out. Otherwise, you will not get the correct reading. All right, guys, let's get started on putting all the rest back. So since I've gone through some of that already, but one thing I wanted to show you, I picked up another one of these tubes. All right, that's the intake tube, and this one's got this nice piece in it. It's an extra baffle to help the gases to turn. Because if you think about it, one of the problems with all the flatheads is that it's the engine sucking, so the fuel air mix is coming and it has to make a right angle turn. And of course, in fluid dynamics, because air is a fluid, especially when there's fluid in it, right, as a gas, it's one of the real problems that you're really reducing the performance, the ability to make power, all kinds of things, torque. That's the biggest flaw in these designs. And that's another reason why moving to overhead valves, right, you can address problems like that. So this is a little bit better version. And they are around. I don't know if you can order one or whatever. I don't really care. But I've got one, and I'm going to go put that on. Then I'll put the magneto back and the carburetor back, and we'll put some better used oil because there's still a lot of junk in there. So I'll see you guys in a little bit. Got a nice one, a little bit nicer. That's shot. You could take these though, these clips that break. And if you can get an extra gasket out, get this nice little guard. Let me just clean it up a little bit. It's a little bent. So we'll fix that, we'll put that on next. I painted everything, as you see. I got the top, which is here somewhere. I'll show it to you. It's a mess. It won't even pull. So we had to put a different top on. So I got that painted. It's drying. We'll put that on a little bit. I want to test it first, though. Good timing, because we got another storm coming in. All right, so I put my last little bit of two-stroke that I had in the bottle. That's in there first, and now we'll just top it off. Let's put a little bit in the throat of the carb. And I think this is full. And we'll have to adjust it. I got some good oil, good used oil on it. Should be good enough. Come on, you. Is it not getting fuel or something? Should be. It's got fuel. Ran last time. Let's see. There we go. Who knows if this carburetor is really any good. She sounds good, though. She sounds okay. You could just get it running long enough. I'm trying to get this in there. I'm not quick enough. I'm tired today. All right, we'll see if we can get this. Bottle feed it. but it's not backfiring. Although it's not really running correctly for us. So it could be the carburetor. I think it's time to get a blade fixed up and go through whatever carburetors we have. So, but she sounds a lot better. I'm not seeing a lot of junk come out of the carburetor. So before it rains, let me go clean up and sharpen the blade for this thing. And we'll be back and we'll play with it a little bit more. I got to get a cover on that too. So I found my spring compressor. Look, see? Look, I told you I had it. Anyway, this should be the correct one. And, you know, it stands to reason because if I had the tongs, I guess you would call them, you know, the parts that fit on the spring and the valve. If I had those laying around, I think they're for this. I don't really know. But anyway, this looks like the correct one. Part 3 is coming up, guys. Thanks for watching Part 2. You know, totally, because this thing's a lot of fun, but it's a lot of work. And in Part 3, we're gonna nail everything down. We'll make everything work right. We'll make everything pretty. And I got one little surprise, which I think is kind of neat. So come on back for that. This is a lot of work on one of these projects, and as I said before, I have some older ones to do. And what better, I mean, I got one on the table over here, which maybe I'll put a little footage on. You know, it's just one of the sort of newer lawn boys, and it's really ain't no thing but chicken wang. I'll see you guys on the next one.